Welcome back to the Titanium Hanger. This is Mike. Today I want to talk to you about the Voltron BLITZWAY KO 4th party version, and we're going to do some comparisons, look at the differences between the two. But overall, it's a really good option for $182 instead of $700. There's also a Japanese version that's Japanese release that they're putting out for $575 or something. So for the price, really good. I'm going to talk about the good and the bad, what is missing from this, and what you actually do get with this. But I did get this Showsium. I have a link down below where you can get yours, TH reviewer code. But let's get into taking a look at this and do some comparisons. Coming up! Alright, so here it is in the box, brown box special. You know, when I made the end of KO, I predicted brown box special for most KOs. And we got exactly what I predicted. I've got a lot of pushback on that video, by the way. And then we have this, and this is what's inside the brown box. And it is shaky cam. There it is. It's in there pretty good. It looks pretty good. You can kind of see the whole Voltron and what's going on with it. But it's got a lower level. Contents will shift during the flight, but there it is. People complain about loose stuff in there, but it's the way it's packed, and there it is. Not bad. Alright, so here's the lines right out of the box and the package. I want to say a few things. First off, I was surprised by the heft of a KO. It feels hefty. Surprised by the paint. If it's not shiny plastic, it's actually really good paint. I don't know. We'll get into that as we do comparisons, but looking at this, it looks really good. It feels hefty, but I did have to do a few things with this guy that I'll show you on the yellow one. Yeah, if you didn't notice, this thing is set up to combine. So it comes pretty much ready to combine, and we're going to go outside of that a little bit. First thing you got to do is put the tab into the hole and get the head on there. And it could be a little bit challenging if you find it challenging. And then the other thing is, and I don't know if this one's going to have the same problem, and which some reason it doesn't, but you have to take these legs and then just put them on and just squeeze real tight, and it'll snap in place. Other people had that problem. I had it on the blue one. The Blue Lion had the problem, and I snapped them in. They're fine. This one seems to be okay. Let's try the front legs, and yeah, it's a production issue somewhere along the line. They just kind of like put them in there and gave a little pressure, not enough, but it works itself out. If you have the problem, it's simple. Just put the legs on and squeeze real tight, and you're going to fix it. The yellow one didn't have the problem. The blue one I fixed right away, and then the yellow one didn't have the problem at all. I don't know how to explain that, but other people have had the issue. Every single person that's reviewed this has had the... Feels really solid. Like, joints are good. Yeah, this thing feels good. Get that tail out of there. Now, we're going to do comparisons here in a bit, but not to lion. It's only combine mode, but yeah, feels good. Alright, so here they are in the cat modes, and I gotta say they all look pretty good, and the only difference really between this and the official one is the vac metallized that's on the legs. I don't know if this is painted or not. It does kind of appear painted, but it's really shiny. It looks good. These figures all look good. This is not chromed right here. So there's a few things that the chrome aspect is not there. And there's no lighting effects in any of these faces. And that is part of why it's only $182 instead of $700. And if you say, okay, well, the Japanese one's only $500, I understand that too. So it's still only at $182 versus $570 or $40 or whatever. But these all look good. Now, I've come into a couple of issues, and I did not take this piece here. I did not take that all the way down because I don't want to mess with the tool to get it out. Just to show the modes. You could fold that all the way in. This will tuck all the way away, but I'm not really worried about that. This leg kind of popped off on me a couple times. Now it's not popping off, so maybe my putting it back on with a lot of pressure has made it a lot stronger. Fast. Black Lion's got some articulation in the tail going on right there, and you've got the mouth opening and closing. The horns would open for, you know, I make the head kind of thing going on right there. The face needs to tuck up underneath there. You do have kind of a wide stance. You can go really far with this, but probably don't need to. Then you have some articulation in the joints, all ratcheted. It feels really good. This feels good, not vac metallized, just a silver paint. Or I think it is painted. I really think this thing is painted. But you hear all the joints that are in there. Feels pretty good. Let's get on to one of the legs. We'll just pick the yellow one because we've got a history with this one here. Here's the mouth, and you see a little gun in there. I think you can pull that out. I'm not going to mess with it, but you can pull that little piece. It's articulated. Pull it out. You can get the wide stance here with the front, and the same with the back. Articulation in the tail. This piece here. Does it pop up? I don't know. Yeah, it folds up. It doesn't pop up. And with that, yeah, that's what it does. It looks pretty good. Now, you get into an arm, just grab the green one. They're all the same. Let's look at the heads. One of the problems in the past with the heads were exactly the same. I don't see a difference in the heads. I don't know if that's going to make a difference to somebody, if that's a good or a bad thing. They look the same, just different colors. That was a problem with the SOC or Final Fantasy Jewel. You do have articulated jaws in all of these, and of course you need it for him to hold the sword and all that kind of stuff, and side to side, and legs in and out. You do have non-ratcheted in this one for all the articulation pieces, and same thing over here on the back, which it popped off again. Okay, well. You need to pull that out of the way, and then you need to push it in and give it some force. And it holds in okay. Holds in okay. I mean, I'm going to have it in combine mode again, of course. That's not a problem for me. If you want it in your lion mode, be gentle with it. And again, this piece here, that can go all the way in. So this folds all the way down. Good lion modes, they'll work in all modes. And feels very tight. Oh yeah. And you get all the articulation in that. So if you want to see what all these accessories do, check out my first review. I'll try to link it down below, but I have the official one reviewed. It's all there. It's all these accessories. No stand though. So that's, you know, you're saving $500 to not have a stand. Alright, so here he is in combine mode. He's pretty big bot. Big bot. Looks pretty good. Everything seemed to work and function the way it should. And I do remember a few issues I had with the original one, like some of the tabs not tabbing in on the covers. Let me slide him forward. And I kind of have the same issues here, where I don't feel like the tabs tab all the way in on these, but it's not a big deal to me overall. He does look really good. So checking him out, and I don't know if I can go up anymore, but yeah, looks good in his robot mode. Let's go ahead and do some articulations side to side, up and down. He's got a universal, his neck moves and all that kind of stuff, and it feels good. Holds anywhere you need it to, if you need it to. Goes down a bit too. And then you've got this, it's a soft ratchet. Feels really good. Holds in place everywhere you need to go. You got that shoulder, and you've got the tail if you wanted to, but that's tail is way tighter than the actual shoulder. You got a bicep swivel, and then you have this to here. Now somebody was telling me that if I pull really hard, I could get a double joint out of this. But yeah, there it goes. I am getting a double joint. And I didn't do that on my original one, and I've gotten a lot of... Funny, since this released, I've gotten tons of feedback on my original one, which is cool, because I love the feedback, because I can implement it right here, and it looks good. So you can get a little bit more double jointedness out of that. And then, of course, the hand the head moves side to side, and the jaw opens and closes. You're going to hold the shield in here pretty soon. Then you get in here where you have side to side and some ab crunch to there. Not quite like Magic Square level, but it's still something good, and it looks good side to side. Then you have, you got a double joint. You could drop this down and go to town, but I don't really care about that. Side to here, and that's soft, and it's not really holding that well. But who really has a karate kick on a Voltron other than the fact that people that need to go down on your Voltron to here? All right, we have thigh swivel, and then you have the knee going to here. Feel how, okay, it's a little light on that ratchet, but it's not going to really affect your posing. But feel how solid this is in there good. You have to release it with this button back here. And you have to insert it with the button back here. Don't try to shove it in there without the button. Push the button when you're putting it in. And then this is kind of how that goes. Then we get down here to the feet. And just like the original, I mean, nothing's really that different on it other than the back metalized. Side to side, up and down a little bit. And you can get wide range if you need it. Don't forget to put out the heel spur. All right, here he is with his accessories, his sword, and his shield, and looks good. Looks really good. Now, I'll reiterate, not vet metal on the legs and all that kind of stuff. And with that, it still looks really good. And 15-inch, of course. Now, I do want to point out, you do get this, and you could combine this two separate blades and have this. Put it in his hand if you want. But I'm not going to go into all the weapons accessories because you're just retreading ground from the original. This is more or less a comparison to the original. Is it worth $182? Oh my gosh. That's a dumb question. Yes, definitely. All right, so in the past, I've kind of gone from the original release up to the most modern, which I think is the best. But if you watch my news videos, I go for the jugular. I go for what I think is the biggest news story and hit it hard. I'm doing the same thing right here. So, side by side with the original $700 BLITZWAY, $182 KO. Side by side, there are very few differences. Now, I will say that I will admit right off the bat that I didn't put the cover on that green lion. I'll do it right now. Everything on this side is a little shinier for $525 more. Everything on this one, put your head right, is exactly the same. It's still shiny, but not as shiny. So I can't really tell if this has been painted or if it was painted with a different paint than what's painted with this one. But the legs, oddly enough, the legs are kind of similar because they're not vac metalized. Now, the legs on each individual bot are vac metalized on this one, but as you see in combined mode, it almost doesn't make a difference because in the arms, most of the legs are covered, and even in the bottom, most legs are covered except for the very bottom parts of the legs. This is vac metalized in the sword, and this is just a flat paint in the sword. Same thing with the shield. I mean, those will make a present different in your collection on your shelf and how you do it. But overall, I mean, I gotta say that I wanted a second one of these the day I bought this. The day I bought it, I want to buy another one. And I held back for whatever reason, thinking $700 is a lot of money. That's the reason. For $182, when the second I was able to order this, I did. The absolute second. And I'm fighting the urge to buy a third because I think it's that good. And I don't really care for the lion mode that much. I will say the lion modes fit on the original stand if you have the original stand, but you do not get a stand with this. Round the back side, here is the round the back side comparison. And if you care, you're going to notice that shiny legs on all these bots and less shiny over here. But that's the only difference. It looks really good, super clean. This design is the absolute best Voltron that's ever been released, in my opinion. And even the 301, which we're going to compare it to here in a second, is close but no cigar. Alright, so this is the Matchbox Vehicle Voltron, and the reason that this release really got my attention, and I had to have it right away, the $700 original version, was because A, I thought it would never come around again, which, I mean, now we got it in KO form. But it's the only Voltron ever to match correctly to the Matchbox Vehicle Voltron. And Vehicle Voltron does not get as much love because it did not have the predominant TV show in the US. It came much, much later when people were, what were they into? Like Inhumanoids at the time, maybe Visionaries. They were kind of tired of Voltron by, 5 years later. But I have to admit, you don't get the pilots with this, like the original. So maybe you do want to spend $700 instead of $182. Not. Anyway, that is one thing you don't get. You don't get the pilots. You don't get the stand. But it does match up right next to your Matchbox. And a quick story. Now this is the 3.0. I want to say that I don't think 3.0 is bad. It's a pretty good Voltron. If you like 11-inch instead of 15-inch. I mean, do you see the size difference? I subscribe to bigger is better in most cases when it comes to bots. And with this, I still believe this is better. But this literally copied design and the fillers around the legs, which when we get to the archaic SoC, you're going to see how that didn't do it back then. But yeah, looks really good. Alright, so this comparison to the SoC is actually very special. More special than an actual SoC. This is the Fantasy Jewel. So KO versus KO. And they copied the original. This does have some vac metallized in the legs as a KO, which I wish this would have. I'm not gonna lie, I wish this had the vac metallized in the legs. But no leg fillers or gap fillers or that kind of stuff in this guy over here. And I never really liked the way they did the waist area on this guy. It just didn't look right. This feels more anime accurate, and I think that the BLITZWAY and the KO of the BLITZWAY looks so much better. So with that, I guess I could take the lack of vac metal on this KO versus this KO that has vac metal. So, I mean, there's good and bad and plus and minus to pretty much everything we buy. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed this look at the fourth party version of KO of the BLITZWAY Voltron. I did get this at shows. I'll have a link down below where you can get yours. I do think this is a great figure overall. It lacks the vac metal that the original one had, but for a third of the price, or was it a quarter of the price, for only $182 instead of $700, it is a definite good deal. And with that, everything feels solid on it. There are a couple things like you have to pop the legs back in place. The manufacturing process, for whatever reason, they did not specify that you got to pop those in with the amount of pressure. You can do that on your own. It's not a big deal. A couple of the tabs, like right here, this one doesn't tab in 100%. I could probably mess with it a little bit and make it work. Not a big deal. I had the same problem with the Green Lion on the original. Not a big deal for me either. I mean, considering the price, this is a 15-inch scale figure. And yes, I did get this. Shows you have a link down below where you can get yours. And let me know what you think about this in the comments below. This is the best Voltron made. The BLITZWAY, the $700 one, and then probably the $500 one that's coming $570 or something from the Japanese version. That's the best version. But this is the KO of the best version. And I recommend it. Like, subscribe.